Starseeds are the guardians of Terra who hold the knowledge of our ancestors. They are the inner earth beings that come to guide us with their wisdom. They are the enlightened beings from all over the galaxies that come to Terra like comets of light. They are the pioneers, the way-showers, and the architects of a new world. One built upon integrity, unity, and love. These are their stories. Join us as they share their journey of hope, as they break down paradigms and limiting beliefs, as they share their challenges and struggles to fit into the very society they are here to shift. The good, the bad, the everything. This is a journey of a starseed. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. I am so honored today to be joined by two lovely women, Elsa and Gigi Dillon. This is part 2 of my interview with the Dillon family. And so I am beyond honored to have both of you on today. So thank you so much for joining me, both of you. How are you two doing?
I'm going good.
We're good. Very good.
Thanks. Well, the reason I called both of you on today, Elsa is going to tell us a little bit about Gigi's journey just to get things going. And then Gigi is a lovely young woman who is going to tell us about her experiences with extraterrestrials. She's an artist. She draws the most beautiful images of the beings that come through. And in order to do that, she'll talk about how she has to hold a certain frequency in order to do that and to receive messages, and her fabulous story of also just being a normal youth. And she surfboards and she raises chickens and she lives with her family in Australia in a beautiful, serene environment with animals and nature. And she's homeschooled with her siblings, or she has been. And she wants to tell her story. And I think it's really important to, for those out there in the world that are experiencing certain things and maybe don't feel comfortable sharing their experiences, they don't have anyone to talk to. And Gigi is here to show you that it's possible to have these experiences and share them with the world so that we can normalize these things and not feel so alienated, no pun intended, and that we can share them with each other. And so we can build a community. So I'm so glad to have you both on. Elsa, do you want to start maybe by giving us a background about a little bit more about your family and a brief introduction? Because if anyone wants to see our previous interview from about a month back, you can see that on my channel. But maybe tell everybody a little bit about the dynamics of the family, and then we'll get into Gigi a little bit.
With the children, they've been experiencing beings and ghosts and lost souls and dragon type energies from birth. The difference is that Richard and I picked up on it, and that's the difference, is we could acknowledge it. It didn't mean that we weren't scared of it, but we acknowledged it. So instantly you create a bond with your children because now you're teamwork. So which is, I feel, really important in a family. The other thing that I like to share is that what we noticed having 8 children is how different each one is with their interaction with the beings and how they feel about each being. And each child would have different ways to communicate with them. So there's not one set formula. It's literally the sky's the limit. And you have to, it's tricky for our brains to turn off the way that we've seen it on TV and the way that we've been taught and say, that could be possible. I actually don't know all the answers, and that could be possible, what they're telling me. So the fact that we would never really dismiss the children. For example, this week we have had, myself included, 4 of us encountering a being in the house. and it's 3D. So 2 of them have noticed the door moving in front of them. And I'm hearing voices. So we're all saying similar stories, but we're all reading it in a different way. And so then we bring all the information together and see, are these beings annoying us? Are they trying to help us? Do they need our help? Are they trying to bring acknowledgement of some information to us? So that's how we do it. So we do it like a project with each other. So it becomes homeschooling with beings.
Yeah, I love that. It's just real world stuff, and you
Yeah.
intertwine it and normalize it, and you figure it out as a family, because I'm sure that each one of you has their ability to tap in through different senses. So then when everybody shares their version of it, you can get a better picture of what's going on. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what's interesting with Gigi is Gigi's probably our most intense portrait of the beings, and her brushstroke, everything is a communication. So if we go into her art studio where she's drawing or painting, sometimes she can be in a mood because she's holding the energy of an outer worlder, and these energies her body is not used to yet. So it takes a while for her frequency to adjust to it. And it's a lot of the times she'll be in there, and we all know that if Gigi's in the zone, you have to let Gigi be in the zone, because you interrupt her, it's quite it's almost like she gets sucked back to this world, sucked back to that world. So it can be quite, it can really rattle her, and we all feel for her for that. In saying that, she's also doing, sometimes I've seen her do 5 at a go. She usually is channeling 1 or 2 or 3, but she can channel quite a few at a go, and she'll be drawing that many at a go as well. So, and she'll go back, and the beings who she's communicating with, as she's drawing them, which I find amazing, I actually take photos along the way because they shapeshift in her drawing. So first they'll present as a Mayan, then they will turn into a samurai, and then they shapeshift into something else, and then there's something completely different. But you see the journey of them, and it's like they're teaching you as she's drawing. So it's really amazing. It is absolutely, it's amazing to watch. Gigi just finds it normal, so she won't find it as amazing as how I talk about it. And she even told me before I came on here, don't exaggerate it, but if you came and stood with me, you would say the same thing I say, because it is amazing. It's not what you see other kids doing, not yet anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Gigi, what is it like for you? Do you want to say, what kind of feelings do you get when these beings come around, and to hold the frequency? Do you ever get like headaches or dizziness or any physical symptoms from trying to raise your frequency to match theirs, or what's it like for you?
Depending on what energy or being, whatever you want to call it, I'm channeling, I find like the mantis kind of type beings are really hard to connect with. I get a pounding headache, or I don't know. I sometimes I faint. Like I'll just faint. I'll be channeling that being the day before, and then I'll wake up in the morning, and I completely faint on the ground, just fully pass out. Yeah, and
Oh my gosh.
so that's intense. Yeah, and I can only work on a bean for an amount of time, and then they get pushed along, and I can't really go back to that bean for that painting. Only a few of them I can. I get really what's the word? Not annoyed.
She almost becomes a little irritated because she's still holding the frequency of the new being she's drawing, and then if I'm asking her a question of a being that she's drawn a year ago, it just rattles her. So she's not in a bad mood. It's just you got your frequency over here and then a frequency over here, and it's hard to make it come in alignment really quickly. So of course it affects how our emotions react. So, and it's important to explain this because when you are taking in these frequencies, it does adjust your emotions a lot, right?
Yeah, I bet, right, Gigi?
Yeah.
It's intense, yeah. Um,
Like the fainting is scary for a mum.
That would scare me. I have to admit, I'd be a little bit freaked out if my daughter passed out on the ground. And do you feel the benevolence from these beings, or do you ever feel afraid of any of them?
uh, well, I used to be like scared of the dark and stuff when I was like early teens, but I'm just not afraid of it anymore. Like it's so normal. It just happens all the time. Yeah. It's so exciting also, yeah. But
The one that used to scare her
oh,
at the chook pen.
that was like, yeah, that was
I felt like that was a test. That was a big black dragon type being, and everyone that would go over near the chook pen
just
at night
freeze.
would
Yeah.
he would come and sit on the power lines over us, and it felt cold when he was around, and it wasn't until Gigi kept commenting on it, and then the little girls commented on it. Like they wouldn't go out and close the chook pen up. They said, "I'm not going out there if he's out there." I go,
Oh
"Who's
my
out there?"
gosh.
I'd say to them, "Who's out there?" And they say, "Oh, the big dark one."
But even people from our family who would come and stay with us would also comment on it too.
Yeah. So now it's a 3D experience, this one. And that was the one where I was doing the horse rugs with Gidget, and he swooped me, and I felt coldness go over when he swooped me, and I looked over at Gidget, and Gidget screamed with laughter. She said, you saw him, and I was so shocked because she confirmed what I had just happened. I didn't even have time to say anything, and she said something. But what also happens with this, which is what confirms it a lot, is our animals notice them as well. Our cats, the dogs, the chickens, the horses. So you'll see the animals. So they help to make you realize you're not going crazy, because they're following the energy. So how are they following the energy? Because they feel it as well. So
Well, so did that being go away, or is that being still in your house, the one that you were talking about?
That being ended up shape shifting into a lost soul, a teenage boy that was a lost soul, and he died of not pleasant circumstances, and he was told to leave his group that he lived with because of what happened, and he especially connected with Gigi because he was of the same age. So we just did a little like ceremony with a bowl and candles and said, we acknowledge you, we understand the pain that you've been through, but it's okay, and it's just okay. That's all we did. And then he didn't really present again after that. It was almost, we missed him. But it's interesting. A lot of the energies aren't what you think they are either. So that taught us not to be scared.
I think that's a really important point. And I had something similar happen to my middle son. He, around the age of 3, he was in the bath because we lived in a home that had a lot of entities in it, and a lot of them were not that pleasant in this one place. And he came out of the bathroom one day, and he shaved a lock of his hair off, and he was holding it. And we're like, oh my gosh, what did you do? Like, why did you do that? And he was like, I didn't even realize he had done it. Fast forward, long story short, these beings were tormenting him. And we did a ceremony, and we, instead of, being mean, we encouraged him to go to the light. We did this whole thing. And it turned out this being said he was sorry, came back. I had forgotten about the lock of hair, came back and brought me, his mother, the lock of hair that he had made him cut as an apology. Like, I'm sorry that I did that to him. And it was a profound experience for me, because I realized some of these beings are just lost, and they don't mean to be disruptive. They're just trying to get attention. And if you take the fear out of it, then sometimes they'll just leave you alone. And it made me feel so bad for this soul, because he really felt what's the word? He felt bad about what he did. And it was a game changer for me to experience that.
So you're having a being encounter who's showing remorse.
Remorse.
That's
Thank you. That was the
really,
word I was kind of come with. Yes.
so to me, that to me is a really lovely story. But if you tell that story to other people, they're gonna freak out. But what happens is the family, we openly talk about it all the time. And then we talk about what we need at the store. And then we talk about what chores we have to do. Like, it's not this big, we don't make it into a big deal. It's just, okay, do the dishes, go talk to that being, go put your clothes away. Like, it's not, it's just part of you working through being here on earth in a spiritual sense, and also your avatar or your temple sense as well. So you still have to, we're still grounded here. So
that's that's a really
both.
important part of it. Yeah, that's very important to stay grounded.
Yeah.
Well, Gigi, do you want to share with us any of your artwork? Anything that you feel like you would like to share?
Like maybe just the recent ones you're working on, or anything unusual that's come up? The feigning been pretty intense the last few months.
Oh, so that's happened more than once?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just with the mantis being, like, it's a specific being?
It's been a few.
No, it's been different groups. And
we had, I'll speak up to trigger her to remember, because we had one at our old house where we had one at our old house. Do you want to grab that? We had one at the old house where the being came through into Gigi, but she didn't really realize it was present, and she collapsed. She collapsed in the office. Sorry.
Oh, I remember. Yeah, that one.
So she collapsed in the office, and she collapsed like clothes that had fallen off the coat hanger, which was really scary as a mum to see. And she was pale white, and we kept calling her name, and she came back to, but when she came back to, she was like a stroke victim. She had no Gigi left in her. Her whole Gigi, all her muscle that was holding the shape that made Gigi look like Gigi wasn't there. And we actually had to call her back into her body.
Wow.
And that one was she felt like she was in a craft for a while. So they had to take her out of her 3D experience, take her up in the craft, share the information with her, and then let her come back down. So we kind of got the idea that she couldn't handle the information in 3D form. She had to change form. Yeah. So that was a pretty huge one for us to decipher.
Do you have any conscious memory of that, Gigi, of what they said to you or that experience after you came to?
Remember, I was coming back out. So I was coming inside from, I think, doing something with the horses, and I remember coming inside, and my body, I couldn't like feel my body anymore. Like my body was going like a tingly feeling, like my muscles weren't like working. And then I walked through the office area, and I looked at myself in the mirror, and I just remember looking into the office, and then I collapsed and hit my head.
Yeah,
I actually hit my tailbone, and I couldn't sit on my tailbone for a few months. Like a really
and it took quite a dent in the wall as well, and
it's fully broken.
We what was interesting is that she knew straight away that she had been up in the craft. And do you want to explain what it was like?
I actually don't remember.
You don't remember them coming around?
It's happened so many times. It's just
I can't remember. Well, the story she told me was that one presented to her, and then they touched her on the shoulder. And then once one touched her on the shoulder, they all came around her. And then I don't know whether that was downloading information to her, and then that one that came forward stepped back, and she said she felt appreciation from them, as if like, thank you for doing this for us. And she came back, and when she came back too, she was actually smiley because she said she felt appreciated.
Oh, it was a pleasant experience.
Well, yeah, besides, the sore hip and the wall, it
Yeah,
was
of course.
it was a pleasant experience. But if you weren't open to all this information, you would class it as a bad experience.
Exactly.
Yeah. So,
or if you didn't have a family that was open to be able to share your experience, you would have kept it and said, most children, I think what happens is they have something where they have an idea of what happened, but they know they can't tell their parents because they might even get in trouble. And so they keep it to themselves and they never talk about it again. And they hold that inside for their entire life.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't ever tell anybody about it.
well, then that turns into disease. And that's what we really are sharing our family story with other people is, first of all, what are you scared of? Go and address it with your children. Be there with them, and you'll be scared sometimes too, but you're allowed to be scared. It's natural to be scared of things. But what are you actually scared of? Are you scared of all the films that you've seen? Probably. or the video games that you're playing? That's probably more what you're scared of. You're scared of what your mind is creating. What's actually going on isn't that. And the more you do this type of thing, as you've experienced, the more you just become more familiar with it. So you know how to handle yourself around them. But it's no different than handling yourself around certain people as well.
Exactly, right. And I probably sometimes communicating with these benevolent beings would be easier than communicating with some people. I would expect. You never know.
It's a big yes.
So, Gigi, do you have beings that you are familiar with at this point that you've seen many times, or are they always different?
They come in, some will stay for a few months around the family, and every family member will explain exactly how it looks or how the feeling is, and then it will pass on. Have we had any that have like really sticked around? Like,
well, for me, I seem to be able to call them back in, but for the children drawing them, generally they come in for a phase, and Gigi might draw them, or someone else might connect with them, and then it's like mission completed. It's sort of, I think that's what we're still not sure what our role is in it all, but because there's been so many, it's like they present to us, and it's quite funny because Richard and I are photographers, and it's like these beings come and sit for a portrait with the kids.
Yeah.
Because they know that we're going to show them up in the best possible way. And I just laugh because that's what we did as professions, but now we're doing it with beings. So, but our kids are doing it. So they're showing these beings, and in the drawings, there's not only are the beings interesting and captivating to look at, but they have information and technology in there as well. So we just list it as best as we can, and then another one presents. But I don't feel like any have crossed over and become the same one. Do you feel that? I don't feel that at all. They always seem to have a different flavor to them. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if that's because we're changing, or the cycles of the spin in
or they're
the
just
orbit.
Evolving with us,
or they're evolving with us, possibly.
So when they come in, do you get to see what they look like? You hold the frequency, but do they tell you who they are or their names or where they come from or some sort of a
Um,
message?
yeah, definitely when I'm painting, I will, I don't know, I'll get an energy come to me and then I'll go, oh, okay, I'll sketch. And then while I'm sketching it, they'll give me an idea on what they look like, what color they are, or where they're from. And if they have a message, most of the time when they're messaging us, it's through when I'm listening to music when I'm painting, because I find I have to listen to music when I paint to keep me kind of here still. So
Yeah.
I had a friend who's a sound healer, and she does sound healings, and she's done sound healings with our girls, and we just got a piano, so the kids have been doing piano lessons, teaching themselves piano, and she said that's the best thing to bring in beings. So
Piano?
yeah, well, just music, which
Yeah.
then helped explain why Gigi needs the music, because she says to me all the time that it grounds her. It grounds her while she's painting. So it's like it keeps her still tapped into being in this avatar, but she can accept this as well. And it just keeps her in a sort of like almost
trance.
a meditative trance.
Yeah.
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 Music has a wonderful way of doing that. It can also do the opposite and can be very disconcerting and bring our vibration down. So to be careful what we're listening to, but piano is great. Frequency music is great. Certain tunes really
It's
help
more
to
like
raise the vibration.
classical music though.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
kids.
Classic.
Well,
Yeah.
Well, that's the other thing with because we haven't really forced any schooling on the children, they've just naturally gravitate to that music. We haven't even, that the kids come up and said, "Have you heard of Mozart?" And I'm like, "Yes." They're talking. That's who they listen to. We haven't asked them to listen to it or force them. And the same with the piano. That is all that they want to learn. So it doesn't become, have you done your piano lessons? Which is what Richard had when he was a kid.
Yeah.
To the kids I have to go, I want to go play piano. I can't do the dishes, I'm playing piano. So it's very opposite to how Richard was taught about piano lessons.
Yeah. Well, because you see the benefit, right, Gigi? Like if you see the benefit in something, you want to do it instead of being forced to do something you're not really interested in, you know?
No, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
If I'm being forced, I don't want to do anything.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It's human nature. You're forced to do something. I don't want to do it. But if there's something you're passionate about, you could spend all day doing it and then you don't even know the hours have gone by.
Yeah,
That's just how it
exactly.
is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Well, what are your favorite things to do, Gigi, besides communicating with extraterrestrials? What else do you like to do?
Oh, I love surfing. Surfing is probably my favorite thing to do.
Yeah. And you
they're
raise
really good.
chickens?
Oh, I love my chickens, yeah.
How many chickens do you have?
Well, we've had a few chickens get taken by the fox. So.
Well, we've been here 6 months at this new farm, and we have a family of hawks that live in the trees.
Uh-huh.
And so they just sit up there and basically henpeck which ones they want. So our numbers have gone down a little, but
it's probably 30
at the moment.
but there's like 20 chicks too, so
Oh my gosh.
So there's lots.
yeah.
And what's interesting is that the chook pen has, because we have to keep an eye on the chickens through the night, we get called out in the middle of the night because there's a python in the chook pen or a fox. Oh. And we had an encounter while getting the chickens back in the chook pen. So is it the beings letting the chickens out?
I know, right? What's going on?
That's what we were like.
All my encounters that have been really 3D is always when I'm locking the chickens up. There would be a spacecraft that was 10 meters over my head.
Yeah.
That one was really different. That was, wow, no, this is really what we're doing.
Yeah.
You can't make this up. And there was a green orb on the ground. And then I called Mum out. And then it shape shifted into a cloud. That was That was
So then
Wow.
two other family members just see the end of her story before she's told us the story. So then we go, okay, this is something. So because a lot of the time you go, is this my imagination doing this, or is it something that's actually happening? And sometimes you can be in dream state. I understand that type of energies or happenings. But what we have happen when it's more than one or two of us, it's a real 3D encounter. So it's like a full-on craft. Or we just shifted to this house, and they had a blue scan go through the house, like a scanner. Do you remember that? Where
That was
it went,
a while ago.
yeah, that came through the house.
You
and
saw
then-
the scan go through?
Yeah, it was seriously off like those movies where they like, it was like literally off
like
a
a
movie.
blue light that was
Just
straight.
scan.
Yeah, and it went through the whole house, and then
This went through Ginger in my room.
yeah,
And like, Ginger,
Wow.
you saw that, right? And then it did it again. I'm like, okay, I saw it. But Ginger gets a little bit freaked out with the whole
she does.
extraterrestrial stuff. I said, Ginger, it's fine. They're
Yeah,
here. They're happy.
Ginger.
Okay, so Ginger's your younger sister. How old is she?
She's 15,
15.
And then how old are you, Gigi? So everybody gets a perspective here.
18.
18. Oh, my son just turned 18 yesterday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you. So and how many siblings do you have? How many are you again?
There's 8 of us,
8.
but
Okay.
I'm the third oldest.
Okay. And do all of you have experiences? Do all of you
Oh.
draw?
Yeah, we all have our ways of connecting through them. Yeah.
There's 4 drawers.
Mm.
The boys have had big 3D encounters. It's like for the boys, they have to get down and get dirty with them. So they've had
Jet and I have had a pretty cool one.
yeah, they've had encounters when they're on the quad bike doing their
Yeah,
rubbish bin.
funny story. Jet got these like LED lights because he loves he has a boat he goes fishing on, and he got these LED lights and he wanted to test them out on the quad bike while we're doing the bins on the road. It's like 1 kilometer down to the bins where we drop them off. So we put them on the bike, and then as soon as we put them on the bike, we see in the distance over hill this huge craft coming over. I'm like, Jet, does that look like a craft to you? And we're just going slowly down the road, and they're probably thinking that we're a craft too. That was really funny.
Jet was
And then they had a
scared,
scanner on the ground. I was like, Jet freaked out. It was funny. He didn't want to admit it was. And then when we got up to the house, he's like, yeah, we saw a craft. I'm like,
Yeah. At the time, he didn't want to say it, right?
Yeah, he wanted to get inside first.
There's something safe about being inside, right?
Yeah, as soon as you shut the door, or if you're under the covers.
I think he felt pretty safe with me.
Some of the kids handle it a lot better. Like we said, Ginger gets rattled by it, but she still acknowledges it. So there's never any terror in our family about it. So
yeah, that's important.
Yeah, and because it happens a lot, and so we could be outside. Like I was outside last night, and I'll look up and say to them, well, I'm meeting Sherri tomorrow. Is anyone gonna come out and say hi? And sure enough, one will come through, flash, and then go straight past me. And I go, well, thank you. Yeah.
Wow.
So did they just download information to me? I don't know, but they did that. So, and it happened, but that doesn't make me any better person or anything. I just acknowledged it, and it happened.
Cool.
And that's what I say to the kids: acknowledge it, and once you acknowledge it, then if there is further information that has to come from, it just presents. It really just happens. Correct? Yeah.
With each sibling, because they all have like their different little energy going on, and Ginger's is pretty intense. She has like electrical, how would you say it? Electrical
devices, glass,
cords,
lightning, electric fences. And if you're standing too close to Ginger and a being is coming through a device, or you'll get an electric shock from her or through her, but she doesn't even have to touch you. It's quite odd, and it a lot of the time you're not ready for it either. So you're like, ow.
Yeah, I bet.
But the beings are quite wary of Ginger.
The beings always seem to be, we always say this, they seem to be wary of Ginger. So if they come through to Ginger, they always seem to have another,
like a softener,
another avatar, like an animal or someone else, like a third party with them. So I don't know what it is about Ginger's energy that they are wary of, but they're wary of her, even though she gets a little bit rattled. They feel wary of her. So that's interesting
dynamics.
well.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Anybody else have that electrical energy in the family?
It's just Ginger.
Mainly Ginger. I've had it since I've had Ginger.
You were pregnant.
Yeah. So when I was pregnant, so I'll get a little bit of it, like it's like remnants of her coming through me, because I class myself as the mothership coming through as a porthole, and so I'll have appliances and things go a bit funny, nothing like Ginger, but it does happen, and I always just say, oh, that's because of Ginger. So, but some of these messages that we're getting are very profound, and some of them can date back many years. So we always question, how long has this message been waiting for us? Like we're talking before the Bible was written and things like that. We're talking about civilizations that were pre-Egyptians, and we always feel quite special because we've been able to see it. And it's exciting because it's actually, we say it's like homeschooling, because we're getting educated by the beings, literally.
Yeah. Well, there's no accident that your family moved into that farm and that land at this time and in this life all together, and you come in together to combine all of your energies to be able to receive this information and to be a portal of energy and to be open to it. And that has a lot to do with it. And so I think that helps a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of the experiences that Gigi has had also is where they've left marks on her. And I'm bringing that up because at first I found that a bit alarming, and I found it intrusive as well as a mum, because I'm protective. Gigi's 18 and tall now, but when they're little and this is happening, I don't like it. And but she would have like unusual finger marks, like where there's a long finger and then two shorter ones on her.
But in my dream, I don't know, a lot of the beings, when they connect for me, they always have to, not in like a sexual way, but they have to touch me, my body. I don't know if that's their way of downloading to me or... Yeah, but they would touch me in the dream, and I remember, and then I wake up, and that's where the mark is exactly. And the handprint it's just not like a human handprint. It's huge.
Yeah, or some of them like imagine that as one finger sort of thing.
Or just really long.
Yeah.
And did those marks stay like permanently? Are they still on your body now, or did they fade away over time?
They would like stay on my body for like an hour.
Enough for everyone to see it in the family and go, what is that? But it would never go into a bruise or anything, but it was an actual dint in her. It was...
Wow.
It's like when the baby's head is soft when it comes out, the baby. Yeah. They leave a print on it for a bit. Yeah.
And but at first, again, when you see that on your child, I didn't like it. As a mum,
of course not.
I didn't like it. I don't want anyone touching our babies. So that when you start to understand it more, it's okay.
A lot of the times the beings ask us to come, but Mum's like, you're not allowed to go until, what was the thing?
Yeah, we had like a coven over the family, not a secret, but not only in this realm but the other realms. So there was like a safety blanket over the family, and that got lifted with my craft experience in 2017, and from that point on, it was like it had been lifted. The veil had been lifted. Okay, now we can fully interact with you because the mother protection is lifted over the children, whereas prior to that, it was like I had them all under a dome protecting them.
Wow, that's crazy. See, this whole conversation that we're talking about could definitely like cause a lot of families to be like, this is make believe. What are they talking about? These people are a little bit nutty. But in reality, I think this is happening to more people around the world than not, and people don't have anybody or an outlet to share this information. And so I'm so honored that you guys are willing to share your experiences, because this is really important right now that we take a taboo subject and somewhat try to normalize it so that people feel that these things are happening, and when they happen to them, they're valid and they're not going crazy. Because I think a lot of people think that they're imagining it, or they're going crazy literally, and they are afraid to share the information because they don't want to be made fun of, or to be the outcast of the family, or to get into trouble. And this is so vital, and that's why I started this journey of a starseed series, was so that we can work to take down some of these boundaries that have been placed. And I think what you had said, you hit the nail on it earlier, which I just remembered. Hollywood, they did a disservice to humanity, well, for many reasons, but for one specifically, with all these movies that have aliens in them and invasions, and people are being attacked, and they put them in such a negative uh, mindset for everybody that we're all automatically afraid when we have these experiences. And Gigi's here to tell everybody, I've had many encounters, and I draw them, and I communicate with them, and it's been pretty okay, right? What would you say, Gigi?
Well, how they connect through, they're a bit cheeky with me.
Yeah.
But not like in a rude, cheeky way. They love connecting through me. Like sometimes we'll be doing tarot cards, and I would connect through them, and they'll just have a little funny message coming through, or
like seriously making a joke,
like about me,
or
something,
or teasing her to get her attention.
But it's funny because that's how our family or friends, that's how they connect with me too.
So we find a lot of jest in the interactions, and with that lightheartedness makes it easier to digest the new frequencies, because you think you've got it, and then another one comes through and you don't have it. So we just go into things like openly. One thing though that I wanted to bring up is that when you see our little girls and how they interact with adults who are talking about ghost experiences and scared moments, or if they were on ancient grounds and they felt like there was a Bigfoot around or something like that, our little girls will communicate with an adult and bring them peace by explaining what the situation could be and how to address it next time. And it's quite amazing to watch a little kid bring someone who is an adult who has fear from this peace, because they look at this little kid who's short and they say thank you, because the house that they were scared of, or the room that they wouldn't go into, or the mirror they wouldn't pass, or the garment they didn't like wearing because it reminded them of their ancient ones or something, the kids will explain it to them, and explain it to them in a frequency sense, and just also how to approach it next time. And so it's a healing process, because that would be causing that person disease. So
Yeah,
it's a good thing.
absolutely.
It is a good thing.
Yeah. Well, Gigi, do you have any artwork that you want to share, or maybe your mom can send me some later, or it's up to you if you feel comfortable.
Is there any one being you want to talk about and we'll show the picture later, or?
Okay, it's a bit hard for me to talk about going back and channeling a being, but I can, if Elsa sends you a photo, then it'll click to me and I'll remember. Is that how you want to do it?
Yeah. Is there any in particular that you want to talk about,
The
or
little green dude.
the green one
Yeah, that I love.
who just came through for
Yeah, the what's his
other?
name?
We had so when we meet with people on Zoom, whether it's for an interview or just social groups, the beings will present to the children, and the kids will come in and say, this being's for someone that you just talked to, and I'll have to show them pictures of who I talked to, and then they'll say it's that person or that person or that person. And we had two beings connect with Jeff Mara on some, and they have messages for them too, so that was interesting as well. And it happens a lot. That's actually how it started with Gigi and I was on a Zoom chat with some ladies in the US and the UK, and I said I could see beings around this lady, and Gigi had just woken up. She came into the office and she was really like, hi mom. I said, Gigi, do you know who those beings are? And she said, yeah, they're Andrometers or something. And I didn't even know the name. And she just walked off, and I still stayed in the Zoom. And after the Zoom, I went out and said hi to everyone. They were having breakfast, and Gigi was drawing these beings, and that's how it started. I said,
Wow.
what are you doing? And she said, I'm drawing the beings that I saw in the group. And I went, really? And she said, this one's the priestess, these are the ground beings, and these are the masculine and feminine. Like, she knew information on them already. So then we shared it with that lady, and that lady, she's a lovely lady. She's a newbie. We call her a newbie. She's only incarnated once on Earth, so we call them the newbies. And it was interesting that they came through on a newbie for us. Yeah.
Well, they were probably maybe they were connected to her, because she might be a newbie, but she's from Andromeda and she's here in her first life here, so they're connected. Did that open the pathway for you, Gigi, where they would just come to you after that point, just at any time? Didn't have to come through someone else?
That was the starting point of connecting through beings that way. Yes.
And then it just got a lot, because we started doing guided to do clearings at certain locations. We'd be asked to go to these spots on maps that we had no idea what was there, but we would go there and there would be these huge rock mounds or indigenous sacred trees. Or
she took us up to this place once out in West, and what was it called? Where was that place where the hill, and it was like literally a 2,000-meter drop down straight away, and there was no road.
The road had disappeared, but the beings told us we would be okay, and we got to the top,
freaking out.
Everyone in the bus was
sitting on the ground,
sweating. I did the clearing, we got out and we left, and we did make it home, and Richard said, I don't want to do that again. And I said, but they did say we would be okay, right? And he said, yeah, that the tire was going off the edge. Oh my goodness. Those roads that you see.
That's scary.
There's been some pretty scary stuff, but we did another clearing up in Queensland on a high mountain, and we had to leave at 2 a.m. and we got there and we just had done a clearing. No one was there. It was dawn. And this lady out of nowhere turned up, and she looked like Pocahontas. her hair was right down to her knees almost. It was amazing in
Yes.
one big long plait. And we had just finished the clearing, and she just turned, it was like she just came out of nowhere. And then she walked off the track to the cliff edge and then disappeared. And we were all like really concerned because we thought she had fallen down, and we wanted to see if she was okay. But she was like, she walked along the whole edge of the cliff line. There's no way I would walk along the edge of a cliff line like she did. She was obviously very comfortable with it. So, but it was like those sort of experiences, we find they're a 3D event that you just can't explain.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, how do you
It's
integrate
also
this? I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's also the synchronicity and the timing is a big one. That's usually the confirmation as well. Or they'll usually do it once, twice, 3 times. And we've had the same encounters with whales as well. So the
Really?
whales will do it. Yeah, the whales will do it not once. They'll do it twice, and then they'll do it a 3rd time. Just, are you sure you got it? Let's give them one more go.
That's so funny. I think that does happen a lot of times. It's like the synchronicities. They're like, you didn't get to catch it the first time, we'll do it again, and then a 3rd time if you need to, just to make sure you get it, you know. That happens, I think, a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. And
Well, Gigi, how do you navigate such an interesting encounter with these beings, and then being a child growing up and now a young woman, when you're with your friends, do they know this side of you? Are you open about it? Are they cool with it? Like, what has that been like? Because I'm sure that you interact with a lot of other kids throughout your life that had none of those experiences. What was that like for you?
Well, it's still going, and they've only just. I have a few spiritual friends that kind of know what's going on, but then I have other friends that have absolutely no idea. And I have random people coming up to me because they know our family and what we do, and they think it's the most oddest thing. Like, they just go, "Who are you? Like, we don't know that side of you."
Gigi will be in Byron, and people just come up and grab her hand and say hello to her. But it's not a normal thing for people to come up and grab your hand. So if she's with her friends or boyfriends, or and they come up and do this in front of them, they're like, "What's going on? What's going on?" But not just that, we've had like autistic children just randomly come up to the kids,
and a lot of children saying that we're like fairies or mermaids.
Any of the children that have those alphabet diseases will come up to the children and touch them and say, we had one boy come up and touch their tummies like this and say primal language to them. And I thought the kids knew who this boy was. And he got on his knees and did it again to Ginger as well, and he's touching her stomach like this. And I said to the girls, I know that was quite confronting because he's a 15-year-old autistic boy, but the reason he's connecting with you is because you can see his inner child, you can see his inner essence, and that would be very hard for him because not many people would see that in him. They would just see someone that has a disability rather than someone that has a gift. And that's another thing that I think is a really important thing, is our kids don't see any disabilities in anyone. They see it as an opportunity to have a gift, just do it in a different way.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, is that uncomfortable for you, Gigi, when people come up to you like that, or when you're around your friends that are not spiritual?
No,
or you kind of just...
I think it's really funny.
You do?
I do.
You don't get embarrassed?
No, I don't get embarrassed. I think it's just the most funniest thing ever because they are so confused. They're lost. Like, that's just the whole different side of me. It's a big part of our life, and they just don't know that part.
Yeah.
But
can you tell Sherri the one at the nightclub, because that was a really weird one for you too? You remember? You saw the beings at nightclubs? because
No,
alcohol
I
does.
wasn't at the nightclub. I was walking to a nightclub.
But alcohol does something weird when there's beings around people, so that's quite interesting as well.
Yeah, I can see when going out with these people who are my friends, and they have some of them have dark energy, and I can read off that energy, and they will have this figure or something around them.
So they're carrying this darkness with them. So whether that's a being or a lost soul, or their
I don't know what it is.
It could be their pain body, but the kids see that as well. So it's a lot of the time it's deciphering, going back and forth, trying to work it out.
Yeah,
But
I'm sure that can be intimidating.
Even connecting, not just because we're connecting through ETs and stuff, but the most random people will come up to us and say that we're like, because our family is like really tall and really got blue eyes, and just we've kind of got alien kind of features, especially.
Yeah.
Like my hands are really big, and just like random people come up to say, you guys look like aliens, or
yeah. They comment on our feet or our ankles because we have funny bones.
just even how we talk or how we act. Just say, you're really different.
It's
just
funny
like the
because
most 3D people too.
The things that I would hide as a child because your friends would tease you about them. The kids are now like, "Wow, you really do look weird, Mum. That is definitely an odd bone," or because it goes the opposite way.
Normal.
It goes the opposite way than it should in normal humans. So
Normal humans.
Normal humans. So, and then I say, well, what is that? Is that just part of the show again? So is this all part of a show to show others not to be afraid? Is that what this is all about? Because that's actually why a year ago we started coming out, is to show others not to be. It's not nice being afraid and scared. It's not a nice place to be.
No.
It's not.
And here in the States, I think United States is one of the most challenging places because of Hollywood. And, a lot of the kids are mean, Gigi, and they're bullies. And so they look at the, I don't like saying autistic, but the autistic kids and the gifted kids, but also kids that every kid, I think, is different and unique. And that can be perceived as weird or a lot of negative things. And here kids get bullied, they get made fun of, and they it's really sad because then they don't feel comfortable being themselves. So I love your positive attitude towards people coming up to you and saying something about your bones or looking like aliens, because here in the States it would make people cry, and kids would just they wouldn't know how to handle it. But you're very humble, and you're like it's funny. And I wish that we could be that way here, but we're programmed not to be. And you guys are such an exceptional family because you don't let those things get to you. You are who you are.
Well, school was a bit hard. Yeah, well, I went to high school for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I was just not happy at high school.
Yeah.
Because girls and just friends.
She came home from a sleepover party, and she got in the car, and I said, "They have cut your hair." And she went, "What?" I said, "They've cut your hair." Her hair was like right down to her backside. And I said, "They've cut your hair." And she said, "No, they didn't. No, they didn't." For 6 months, she was in denial about these friends because...
And then they started acting really weird.
And then she admitted one day, she said, "Mum, they did cut my hair while I was asleep." And I said, "Oh, well, I'm glad that you can say it out loud." And I said, "Well, what do you want to do about it?" And she says, I'll just do homeschooling."
And then that's when getting into myself and doing my passions. And that's when extraterrestrials.
Yeah. So maybe like the homeschooling has a lot to do with it, because we've switched the fear off.
In the school system too.
Yeah.
In
saying that, I would have a lot of teachers call us in for appointments, and they would tell us that the kids, they would say to us that the kids aren't learning properly, and we would work out that it was the lighting that they had for the kids, or the kids needed to sit near a natural light window, or just simple things like that, rather than label them with a disease. And then the conversation would change into a healing session for the teacher.
Every single teacher.
Every single teacher became a healing. It ended up being how they couldn't fall pregnant, or how
their partners sick or something,
or how they had a child that was sleeping near a power meter cord and was having disabilities from that. So it was quite interesting. We have just had the hugest storm come through, Sherri.
Right now?
Yeah, it came out of nowhere. It's like a
wow.
That's why you can hear a lot of noise. They're
I don't hear anything.
Oh, you can't. The kids are running around trying to save all the chickens.
Oh my gosh, I have no. I'm thinking you guys can hear the kids downstairs in my house screaming, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. It's so loud, but I don't hear anything on your side.
Oh, so it's very real. That's why I really want to thank you, Sherri, because you are sharing your family and we're sharing our family, and through this, people will see how I don't think we look crazy, and I don't think we sound crazy, but if you told this story to someone else, I think it sounds crazy. But we're okay, and we're sane, and we're actually probably really healthy compared to most of the people that you see around us. So
yeah,
support each other.
Absolutely. Well, Gigi, I think you're a lovely young woman, and I think you're very brave, and I honor you, and thank you for coming on here. And I'm shy. I'm probably the most shy person in the world, Gigi. How I'm on this camera where everybody in the world can watch this if they want, is beyond me, because I'm the most shy person, probably in my house. And I don't like any attention on myself. I don't like to share. So this is really hard for me. And I'm in my 40s and I'm doing it now. But you are brave, and you are coming out and you're sharing your story. And I'm so glad that you agreed to do this. And thank you so much. I'm sure it wasn't easy, and you're beautiful inside and out. And I want to ask if there's anything else that you want to share with everybody. Anything else you want to say?
What, is there anything else?
No, just that if once you can get over the fear, I can't stress this enough. Once you get over those little tests of fear with this with these new energies that you're not used to, and your body's not used to, you start to have peace.
Yeah,
so things start to become that bit clearer, and you start to see things differently and see people differently, and have more compassion.
Especially with teenagers, a lot of people I know who are spiritual, they're always worried about what their friends are going to think.
Which is what you were talking
just
about.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Just be you,
because now they're coming up and asking her questions because they've had something happen to them. So it just takes a few people to come out and share first to break the ice.
Yeah. And I believe, Gigi, yourself and many others are the pioneers, the way showers, whatever word that you want to use, that we kind of hold the space. I always say we hold the space for everybody else, so that when they're ready, they can come to us and say, when you said this happened to you, can we talk about that? And I love that you're such a humble person, Gigi. I can tell that you're such an honorable, humble person. And that's one of my biggest things that I try to remind my children every day, is to remain humble and kind, and to put the ego aside, so that when someone does come to you later and says, I need your help, you don't say, oh, I told you so, or you don't put them down. You say, sure, let me help guide you. Those are true leaders. And you are a true leader, Gigi. And I think that there are many in your community that are going to keep coming to you as they awaken. They're going to look to you and Ginger and everyone in your family to help them. And I think that you guys are where you are there for a reason. just like anybody watching this, regardless of where you live, what country you're in, how old you are, we're all doing our part. And if people are watching this, they were guided to watch this to hear you to speak today, because whether they're a parent or a child or an adolescent, whatever stage, there's something in this that they needed to hear today. And so I thank you so much to both of you for being here. Your family is so dynamic. We could do a part 3, 4, 5, and 6 because there's so much we can say. And Elsa, so we'll have to come on again so you can tell us a little bit more about your experiences as well. But I don't want to take too much of Gigi's time. And it sounds like you guys have a huge storm there. You got to go tend to those chickens. So I'll let you go for this evening. It was such an honor. Is there anything else that you would like to say, Elsa, for the evening?
No, I just wanted to say that I really appreciate what you're doing, Sherri. Like I really, really appreciate it, because this is what needs to be shared. You don't have to live in fear anymore.
No more living in fear. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it starts now. So I thank you both for, sorry, I'm sounding so sick today. I apologize to everybody if my voice is cracked. But we just keep going with it, and you know, we make the best out of it. So thank you all for watching this evening. It was a pleasure to have you both on. Again, thank you so much. And I hope everybody receives this this broadcast well. And until next time, bye everybody.
Bye.